Well, hey, everybody, getting ready to record Mike in the Midwest a day early today because it's so crazy around here that I have about 40 minutes of time, hopefully. So I'm getting it done early. So tomorrow I can work more. All right, let's do this. So we'll be doing this show, then two Be Our Guest podcast episodes. So three podcasts in a row. Strap in. Here we go. What number is this? 189. All right, here we go. Welcome to episode 189 of Mike in the Midwest, a mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast, and you can find me on the socials at Be Our Guest Mike. And I'd love to connect with you on Twitter or Instagram or Threads. Look me up. And of course, this week, and of course, for about the last couple of weeks, we've really been having a good time over on the Discord server, which again, I talk about this on Thursday, the replay of last night's Sunday night's live call-in show. It sounds confusing when you say Discord server, at least to me, it sounds a little techie, a little crazy. Really what it is, it's kind of a cross to me between a message board and a kind of a live chat because of everybody. You can see who's in there in real time on the right side of your screen. You can see all the users that are in there live, which I think is super cool because there's people in there from all around the world, all times of the day, listeners of the Be Our Guest podcast. You can private message them if you want, or you can just see the posts in all kinds of different little rooms or threads. We have a cruise line group. We have a theme park group for Walt Disney World. We have a Disneyland group. We have the living room where we just talk about our lives. We have my corner of the world where you can post about what's going on. And like I posted in St. Louis here in St. Peter's. People are posting, Trisha's posting about what's going on up in Wisconsin. People are posting about what's going on in Jersey. It's a cool place. And I'm going to talk on today's shows because, again, I'm recording this on Monday to get ahead. And we're going to be recording with Scott and Pam today because Ricky is, she's taking care of baby Lucy today. So she ain't going to be able to join us. But I had an epiphany this morning on the treadmill as I was running my 11 miles. And I'm kind of starting to think of our Discord, and I appreciate everybody that's spending the time over there. And if you haven't joined us, all you have to do, go to beourguestpodcast.com, scroll down a little bit on the widgets on the right-hand side of beourguestpodcast.com. It says, come join us on Discord. Click the link. Boom. You're right there. It takes you right there. And there's an app you can download for your smartphone, either iPhone or Android. It's just Discord, and just download the app and it'll take you right there. And just go to the link. And we'd love to have you join us. And I'm going to start referring to this as kind of the Be Our Guest podcast clubhouse, because think about it. Like when you're a kid, you always want to have like a clubhouse where you can hang out with your friends. It's like your secret clubhouse, right? But this isn't really a secret, but it kind of is. You know, like Twitter's like the whole world. Facebook's like the whole world, everybody hanging out together. This is like our little club. It's the Be Our Guest podcast family. It's our friends. It's 24/7. We know where it is. We have it hidden on our phones. If we want to get to it, we can. I don't know if you guys, if it works for you guys like this. I don't know if I have a setting set up different than you guys. Every time somebody posts a message on Discord, my phone goes, and my iPad as well. Actually, even my MacBook, it goes, boop. Just not super annoying, but it's just like a little sound goes, boop. And so I know, hey, something's happening over on Discord. And I'm always like, wonder what's going on over there. And I have to be disciplined because during the day I have to get my work done, because I know if I go over there, I'll be distracted and 15 minutes will go by. And I am super busy during the day. You guys know, a lot of you guys are my guests. I want to make sure I get your trips booked. I want to get you to Disneyland. I want to get you to Walt Disney World. I want to take care of you first because that's my first priority is my work. So you won't see me on Discord during the day. I usually post at night. So that's when I'll hang out or what, maybe at lunch. But yeah, it's fun to hear those little beeps and boops because that means people are making connections. And one of my personal goals with the podcast in 24 was to bring back more of a community feel with the Be Our Guest podcast, because we really, really had that in the early days of the show. I think like 2010, 2011, 2012, we used to have those message boards, the V Bulletin message boards. And those things were the jam, but it was before social media really exploded, Twitter, Facebook. Once Facebook and Twitter really exploded, those message boards just kind of dropped off, and it was sad to see. But it was a sign of the times. It was nothing we did. Everybody just enjoyed, having the immediacy and the town hall of Twitter and Facebook, which I totally get that. But I think that there's a time and a place right now for a place like our Be Our Guest podcast clubhouse. And it's us, it's just us, and we can make it what we want. Somebody asked, can we have a Run Disney message board? And I was like, absolutely. So anything you guys want, let me know. And there's actually a private one just for our patrons, and you can use that. The link's right here at patreon.com/BeOurGuestPodcast. You guys can use that however you like. If you want a subgroup, let me know, I'll add it. But the main podcast one obviously is more active because there's more people. Let's use it. Let's grow the community, because the more people we have in there. I saw just an awesome discussion the other day. I think it was yesterday. Somebody that's kind of newer to the show is asking about ADRs. She's taking her 4-year-old daughter, but she hasn't done a lot of character dining. And the suggestions that were given to this person didn't consider Tusker House, didn't consider Crystal Palace, didn't consider Garden Grill. I guarantee you this person who is a listener of our show, so a member of our family, we're taking her in, it's great because we're all in this to have better vacations. I love that we can take care of each other. That's the greatest thing about our show, is that we care about each other. We truly do. And I've always felt this ever since 2008. We're celebrating 16 years in a couple of weeks, is that you guys genuinely care about each other, love each other, and we all want each other to have better trips. And when I was reading that thread last night, I was like, this is awesome, because not only is this 4-year-old girl going to get to have a better vacation, she's going to get to go maybe to Cinderella Castle or Tusker House and get to meet Donald in his safari outfit, or Mickey, or go to Garden Grill and have this awesome experience. Not only is the food really good, we get to meet Chippendale, and the restaurant's going to rotate, and that's super cool. But the parent is going to have these memories of her child having these great experiences. I mean, that is what it's all about. And it's listeners like you that are taking the time to be kind and share your expertise. And it's happening in real time. I saw Scott over there giving suggestions like, yeah, Crystal Palace is great for the characters, but don't discount going, booking that last breakfast and flip it when it flips over to lunch. You get kind of a brunch. And that is such a great tip. But if you've never done it before, you don't consider that. And that's the kind of stuff that, yeah, we can talk about it on the podcast, and we try to get that out there. But the podcast, we do more podcasts than any other Disney podcast out there. We have a show coming out Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we're live on Sunday, so we can take your calls. We put a lot of content out there, but the Discord fills in all the holes, right? Because it's like, it's 24/7. If you have a question, somebody's liable to be there within an hour with an answer. And it's not just us. I'll try to give an answer when I'm in there, but you guys are the experts just as much as Scott, Pam, Ricky, when they jump in. You guys are awesome. I love seeing it. Please keep the Discord going. It is just tickling me right now to see our community just thriving and everybody picking each other up. So again, beourguestpodcast.com/ I'm going to try to make it /Discord. I got to get to our people who do our website. But just go to beourguestpodcast.com, scroll down and hit the Discord button, and you'll be there. So thank you to everybody who's participating over there, because it is truly awesome to see. And it doesn't have to be just Disney. If you want to have a thread about, like I put one for technology because I'm a technology nerd. I like to have that. But if you guys don't want to discuss that, it's totally fine. But if you want to have a non-Disney thread about your pets or something, tell me. We can do that. It's going to be our little clubhouse. That's kind of what I want to talk about today on the show, if I remember, because the show's coming up after this. All right, what's going on around here? Not a lot. We had a party for my wife yesterday. Here, her whole family came over. We had Tiger Stripe ice cream, which is a Mizzou thing. You get that at the Faroe Field at the football games at the campus. So that was tasty. Pam's birthday's this Thursday, so I'll be taking her out to dinner at her favorite place. We'll be celebrating. So that'll be fun. Yesterday was a good time. Got to have, the family over. Her meal, her go-to meal for her when the family comes over. We always have Peroni's Pizza, which is her favorite pizza here in St. Louis. Italian style. The Peroni's Pizzeria was right by my house growing up, and it was so good. Oh my gosh. I love when we have Peroni's Pizza. It was so tasty. I didn't even go to Taco Bell last night after the show. I had Peroni's Pizza for lunch, and I had Peroni's Pizza for dinner. It's that good. It's that Italian style. Oh my gosh. It's so good with the crunchy thin crust. So, yesterday was a good day. Our basketball team's still in the playoffs. Francis Howell. We're 26-3. We play in the championship game of the district. So we're in the district playoffs, district finals tomorrow at Troy High School at 6:00. So Tuesday, we'll be out there. That's why I'm getting ahead today. And hopefully we can beat the private school that we play in the finals, St. Dominic. And if we do that, fingers crossed, we move on to the sectionals and we'll see how that goes. So we'll make a run. Mallory gets to keep cheering if we keep winning. So I don't want the season to be over yet for Mallory cheering. So let's cross our fingers. We get a big win tomorrow out in Lincoln County. So that's about all that's going on around here. Let's hit the feedback from last week's shows. Getting on down the road, talking about how good a quick little road trip can make you feel to see your state and see what's going on. Len says, here in Maryland, we like to make day trips to new parts of the state by using a couple of websites created to promote these type of trips. One website is called Main Street Maryland. This website promotes mostly smaller cities in the state that provide a nice downtown area to walk down and explore. Our other favorite Maryland exploratory website is called Maryland's Ice Cream Trail. Hang on. I got to give you a bell on that one. You know how much I like ice cream, guys. Sign me up for that. This website features locations of what we call cow to cone, where dairy farms make and sell ice cream right there on their farm. Both of these websites take us on excursions to locations well outside the Baltimore to DC corridor, where a majority of the Maryland population lives, including us. Len, you had me at ice cream. Because that's what I just talked about, Tiger Streak ice cream. It's beautiful. I mean, this sounds gorgeous. Yes, because we have a place on the way to Mizzou. If you kind of go off the beaten path, it's called Central Dairy. And it's kind of this thing. It's like it's a big dairy. And my goodness, the ice cream is good at that place. Pam takes her class there every year because they go to visit the Capitol, but that's where they go also to Central Dairy. Len, thanks for sharing. All right. Oh my gosh. I don't read the feedback until I do this show because I want it to be fresh. And I just see that Trisha is hitting on something that is today's main topic. And I had no idea, but it's kind of today's topic. She says, ESPN was airing some college competitive cheer and dance this past weekend. I caught snippets when I was at the gym, and I have no clue how they judge things. You know what? I'm a cheer dad, and I hardly have an idea of how they judge things. I do have an idea, but it's judging competitions, whatever. I'm not going to get into that today. Continuing, we have a local dairy place, Sassy Cow, that sells ice cream, deli sandwiches, and some groceries. They also have windows to watch the milking process. When we were down in St. Louis, my husband got really excited to stop in Wally's. Of course, we had to buy shirts as proof of visit. I've been reflecting on the Wally's versus Buc-ee's experience. My wife has too. We think that Wally's is better than Buc-ee's for a couple of reasons. One, well, Buc-ee's has more gas pumps. They have 100 gas pumps. Wally's has probably 50 to 75 gas pumps. But two things we were looking for in Wally's, in Buc-ee's that we didn't get. One is that Wally's, and Wally's, again, another one is super gas stations that's geared towards like tourists, and they have all the souvenirs and junk and, a million kinds of snacks and so forth. Both of them have that. But Wally's had a place inside where they were making fresh popcorn of all different varieties, like the caramel corn, the cheddar corn, and you could get different mixes. There was a person there like making these corns and mixing them up for you in fresh bags. Pam is a popcorn addict. I'm not so much, but she loves popcorn. So she thought she was going to get that at Buc-ee's. She thought, because, I've been telling her Buc-ee's is like way bigger than Wally's. They got to have this. We go into Buc-ee's, they don't have it. They have popcorn in bags, like pre-made, but she wanted like the fresh stuff. Didn't have it. So she was bummed out about that. Also, one of the disappointments of the Buc-ee's, at least in Springfield, Missouri, they did not have any Coke products. Like they did not have Coke or Diet Coke or Coke Zero. And they also did not have Pepsi or Diet Pepsi. They had a Buc-ee's brand soda, which I had a Buc-ee's Diet Soda fountain. Like they had a bunch of fountain spouts. And it wasn't bad, but it wasn't a Coke Zero or Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi or a Pepsi. So they like their own brand of soda. Now I've heard that isn't always the case. Like in some of the Buc-ee's, they do have Coke and Coke products and Pepsi products. So I don't know if this was just the Springfield Buc-ee's, but they had like a Buc-ee's brand soda. Wally's has like every kind of soda. They have all the Cokes, all the Pepsis, everything. So that was that. And I will say, Wally's has the best fish sandwich I've ever had in my life. Like a fish, like on a sub sandwich. But I did have at Buc-ee's the best breakfast burrito on the way home I've had in my life either. So Buc-ee's was good. And I know they have all kinds of good stuff. So Wally's rocks too. Wally's is good, and they all have all the like gear. Like I do have a Buc-ee's hoodie, I have a Buc-ee's shirt, like t-shirt. So all the Bucky Beaver's cute as anything. So I get it. But Wally's stands up there, I think, with Buc-ee's too. So I'm just saying. All right, next. I can't believe I'm debating the Wally's against the Buc-ee's, but here we are, Mike in the Midwest. And you're a patron listening to this. I apologize. Dennis down in Texas. First, congrats to Mallory for her cheering crew for taking second in state. That's a huge accomplishment. Thanks, Des. Real quick, I got to brag. Dad thing. The one thing I told her when she got done with 8th grade, when she started high school, I wanted her to be an athlete, pick her sport. I knew it was going to be cheerleading because she's not really done any other sports. She did cheerleading all growing up, and I knew that was going to be her thing. But I told her the one thing in high school, when she went to high school, there's one thing I really wanted her to do. And this was just me. I told her this is her dad speaking to her. I remember telling her this, I think it was an 8th grade graduation, because she was in National Junior Honor Society. I said, if you want to make your dad happy, the one thing I want you to do for high school is to get into National Honor Society. I said, because that is an all-encompassing kind of honor that shows that you're keeping your grades up, you're working hard academically, but mostly is that you're doing service, and that your teachers are recommending you to get into this society, this club, because you have to get teacher recommendations, that you're kind of doing high school the right way. You're getting service hours, you're serving the community, you're working hard academically, you're keeping your grades up, and you are being somebody who is being respected within your school building. And this past week, she made it into National Honor Society. And that is the one thing. I'm glad she's a cheerleader. I love being a cheer dad, because tangentially, I get to go to football games, basketball games, because I have a son. So that's awesome. But as a proud moment, I'm more proud of her for getting into Honor Society this past week. Because people say like cheerleaders are airheads, cheerleaders are dumb, girls can't be smart. You've heard all the stereotypes of cheerleaders. They can be, and they are smart, and they do service for other people, and they can be leaders within a building. And she proved that. And I'm super proud of her, because I was in Honor Society as a high school kid. I was a nerd. So, it's just like, I'm so glad, because she's a blonde cheerleader, and she's not just a dummy. So that makes me happy. Anyway, next. Thanks, Dennis. You just made me, and I'm sorry that I had to throw that in, but I'm super proud of her. He says, Brahms, Whataburger, and Buc-ee's are all places that I've come to take for granted here in Texas. Brahms and Whataburger are all over the place here in North Texas. Now he's bragging. I wish we had those here in St. Louis. I pass Buc-ee's every time I drive from Dallas to Austin to visit my in-laws. My last house had a Brahms literally down the street. Oh my God, I wish we had a Brahms here. It was a favorite place to take my older son for ice cream when he was little. When we were touring colleges for him a couple of years ago, we found a Brahms across the street from Texas Tech. Red Raiders. Let's see. We stopped in and grabbed some ice cream after our tour of campus. I got a nice nostalgia kick from that, but he barely remembered it from going as a kid. I had fun getting to hear the experience and novelty of your visit. I'm still talking to this day about how cheap that ice cream was. We both got double scoop ice creams in a big old, it was a sugar cone, but it looked like a waffle cone. $5.83 for 2 cones. I felt like I was robbing the place, because we just went to Dairy Queen this past weekend again. We got 2 ice creams and it was $12.93. I was like, we're back in St. Peter's. It is not Brahms. That's exactly what we said, because it was $5.83 for the ice cream at Brahms. I feel like I was robbing the place. I'm just saying. So thank you, Dennis. And you are living the good life with all that stuff around you. All right. One last thing. Carrie says, thank you for sharing your road trip adventure last weekend. I loved your Buc-ee story. I've never been, but 2 weeks ago, we had our annual kickoff for work in Austin with colleagues from all over the world. My French coworker was able to stay in Texas longer and got this experience at Bucky's. He's now wearing a hat, t-shirt, and has a stuffed animal when we were on calls. It's world famous. I can imagine somebody that's not from the United States going into Bucky's. They're probably like, what is this? And I got to have all the beavers. I love it, Carrie. Carrie, you just made my day. That I could just, wee, Bucky's, America. I can just see it. Oh my gosh, you just made me so happy. All right, today's topic, not such a happy topic, actually, but I just wanted to talk about this. And it came about by the news of the week, as Mike in the Midwest a lot of times is. And just a few days ago, we got the sad news that Chris Mortensen passed away. One of the most distinguished ESPN anchors. And if you grew up and you're my age, again, I'm 50, and you are somebody who likes sports, and I know a lot of you guys like sports and a lot of you don't. I understand that our demographic is all over the place with the Be Our Guest podcast, but there's a Disney connection, which I want to get to in just a second. But we've lost some of the best, not just anchors, but in my opinion, people that shaped who I was, my childhood. I put a tweet out just a couple of days ago, like when Chris Mortensen left us, there's so many of these folks that were on ESPN that I got up every morning. And I'm sure some of you are the same way, that in high school and in college, again, this was pre-social media, but we all had cable. I did have cable. I mean, I'm not that old. And you got ESPN, and when ESPN started, they had like weird sports, right? They didn't have all the major leagues. They would do stuff like curling and Australian rules football, and it was like the Ocho at first. They didn't have all the rights, but they would try to make all these other whacked out sports cool. But they would show Sports Center, and Sports Center would have the highlights though from all the major sports, but they had to make them exciting. And they were so different than your local news anchor who would do your sports for like 3-4 minutes at the end of the newscast, like at 10:25 to 10:30. We had great sports guys in St. Louis, Zipper Zeppa. We had Tim Van Gilder. We had Steve Savard, Mike Bush. We had some good guys in St. Louis, but you had legends that were born on ESPN. And they were also, one of the best things about ESPN were the commercials. These guys and ladies became legendary for their commercials because they just took it to another level with people like Steve Irwin, tackling the Florida Gator, or I forget who it was. Was it John Anderson who did the commercial with the New Jersey Devil mascot when he got in the elevator and he's like going down, he's like, nope. And he jumped off that elevator. I mean, some of these commercials to this day make me laugh so hard I almost have to go to the bathroom. Like whoever wrote them are so perfect, just Pujols in there with the Alex Ovechkin, the Russian hockey player in there looking like he's stealing files, like a Russian spy, or, Albert Pujols, the machine, he's in there like looking like a robot. I mean, they were legendary because they transcended sports. Yeah, I know you had to be a sports guy to kind of get the in joke with the players interacting with, like his, basketball players in the cubicles, like typing, but they couldn't type. And they're 7'3" trying to sit in a cubicle in a chair that only holds somebody that's over like 5'6". Randy Moss, or I can't remember, was it Jerry Rice, whoever, everything. I think it was, maybe it was the guy that played wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald. Like everything's falling off as they're walking through ESPN headquarters. And like he's catching cheerleaders, he's catching everything that's falling because he's got such good hands, but they're just carrying on a conversation. These guys became legends. I mean, legends, and we lost them all too early. But the thing was, they almost became like a parasocial like friend, because every morning you would wake up and you would want to see how your team did, or wanted to see what happened last night in the NHL or Major League Baseball or the NFL, what have you, whatever sport it was. But they would give you the information, they would give you the highlights, but they would also give you catchphrases. We've lost so many of these legends, and Chris Mortensen just did it so well with the NFL. But we've also lost John Clayton years ago. We lost John Saunders years ago, very young. I mean, he did it so well. But the one that really got me years ago was Stuart Scott. I love Stuart Scott. And I got to meet him in person on a Disney cruise years ago. And I've talked about this on the show. And I just thought he was like the coolest. I mean, Stuart Scott, I just would watch him and it's the name of the show today. He would give us, he would get up there and he'd give you the sports and like whoever he was anchoring with, like they'd feed off each other. And he was just like, I mean, you want to take like 1 to 10 on a cool scale. Like he was like at least 10 all the time and probably past 10 most of the time. And like I wanted to do his job because he got to talk about sports, but he also got to, just make it beyond sports and make it fun. And, he'd always say, like when somebody was just in the moment, an athlete that just stepped up and delivered, they were cool as the other side of the pillow. And we could all relate to that, right? That was like his catchphrase. Like, in the middle of the night when you're just hot and you just flip that pillow over. Oh, that feels so good. That's just right. Like he would just say that. That was his catchphrase. Cool as the other side of the pillow. And when we found out that he was battling cancer, like he was courageous. He got up there in the ESPYs and just and a lot of folks, it's wild how ESPN has had these folks that have gone through this, these personalities. I'm trying to think, the female that was on Good Morning America, she's gone through that battle, right? Where they fought cancer and they've gotten up there and they've raised money and they've given money to the V Foundation and we've seen them go through the battles and they've brought the awareness to the fight, right? To raise millions of dollars. And Stuart Scott did that until he lost his battle. But it's courage. I mean, it's these folks, Chris Mortensen that just passed away, John Clayton, Stuart Scott, John Saunders. It's like your childhood is just slipping away, one person at a time. But I just want to take this chance to remember these folks because they did bring so much to what I wanted to do as a kid and how much they added to my mornings and my evening, my late nights as I got home from the skating rink. I put on Sports Center and just watch them. And they were just, I mean, talk about artisans. They were wordsmiths. They brought sports to life. They made an ordinary Tuesday night hockey game between a 7th place team and a 9th place team fun. They took average hockey players and made them gods, for 38 seconds. It was pretty amazing. And then you had all the connections with ESPN, right? Down at Walt Disney World. You had the ESPN Club on the boardwalk, which to me was a super cool place back in the mid 2000s, late 2000s. That was a destination. I don't know if it was for you, but I used to love going there. So did Paige. We were sports fans. That was like not just a passing destination. That was a place we went 2 or 3 times every vacation. We'd have nachos. We'd watch whatever was on the screen. We didn't care. We'd watch soccer. Paige loved soccer. We'd watch baseball. Whatever was on. We loved being there because the environment was sports and we were sports fans. That was such a cool place. To me, it's such a loss not to have that anymore. And plus, also, I loved being able to back in the day buy ESPN merchandise in their store because I would come home. I remember I had an ESPN windbreaker. I had an ESPN hat. I had a t-shirt that said Sports Center. And when I came home to Florissant, Missouri, and I was still teaching at my elementary school, everybody was said, where did you get that ESPN stuff? Did you go to Bristol, Connecticut? People had no idea where you got ESPN stuff in 2008. And it was like hot. Like people wanted that stuff and it was cool. And I used to remember going through, we didn't like this as runners at the time, but running through ESPN Wide World of Sports, you got to see all the athletic fields, the soccer fields. You got to see the arena. You got to see, the track. You got to run on the track. And it was a whole thing. I mean, I've been there many times for Summit, for the cheerleading championships. ESPN does have a connection to our lives. You could watch the Atlanta Braves back in the day, battles, all kinds of teams of spring training and Grapefruit League action down there. There is a definite connection. And like I said, that one cruise very early in my cruising connection to Disney Cruise Line, I was sailing the Disney Wonder, and Stuart Scott was on that sailing, and he was just there with his wife sailing on the ship, probably like doing some promos or something. I don't know. But I just happened to be in the bar with him that night, and it was karaoke night. And, obviously down in the adult area. And the way the karaoke worked that night was if you got up and sang, you had to do a shot first. And Stuart liked to sing. And he was having a good time, and he was knocking them back. And I just remember he kept singing "All for You." All for you. Do do. And until his wife made him stop. So, but everybody was encouraging him because, I mean, he wasn't super well known at the time. He was kind of you had to be a sports fan to know Stuart Scott at that point. He wasn't a legend at that time. He became kind of like a cultural phenomenon at one point, but you had to be a sports fan to know who Stuart Scott was. He was like signing the next day. He was signing like autographs and stuff at a table. And I made sure I said, I got to meet Stuart Scott. And I went up to him. I said, Mr. Scott, I said, I am a huge fan. I'm a sports fan. I said, I'm a teacher. I said, I teach in St. Louis, and I didn't have anything for him to sign. I didn't have his book or anything. I said, but here's the deal. I got, because back they had stationery in the staterooms, and I brought a piece of stationery and a pen. He had a Sharpie. And I said, here's what, if you would, I said, I teach gifted kids. Or no, this is when I still taught sixth grade. I said, I teach sixth grade, and I think my kids really look up to you because I taught in a district where mostly minority students. A lot of my kids want to become NBA players, and they were all into sports like I was. We talk sports all the time. I said, you're like a hero to them. I said, you're a hero to me. I said, could you just don't sign an autograph to me. I said, could you sign something that I could put on my wall? Like I could run through the laminator when I get back to my school and put on my wall in my classroom for my kids. I said, sign something for Mr. Rallman's class. And he said, I can do that. He said, I like this idea. But then what he put on there was something, and I treasure this, but what he put on there shocked me. He said something like, to Mr. Rallman's class, Mr. Rallman is not your babysitter. He is your teacher. You are there to learn. Don't act up. Take advantage of every day, and don't miss the opportunity to learn. And he put all caps. He put "Cool's the other side of the pillow, Stuart Scott, ESPN." And I thought he'd put something like, some motivational thing. But then he told me, he's like, my mom was a teacher. He said, and I love teachers. And he said, I appreciate what you do. And he said, I put that because you got to be tough. You can't just pander to kids. He's like, you got to tell them, like, don't sit there and babysit these kids. He's like, just they have the opportunity to learn or not. He's like, so teach them, don't babysit them, but give them everything you got. Give them the opportunity. And I was like, this dude is so cool now. And I had that sucker hanging in my classroom every day. I took it to my gifted class when I went there. I told my kids every year the story of Stuart Scott. And love the connection to ESPN and Disney. And I'm glad they still have it. I hope they never sell it. I mean, just personally, because I love sports. I love the connection to Disney. But with these gentlemen passing again, Chris Mortensen this week, shed a tear because, is a sports fan and a Disney fan, that it's that Venn diagram where it's the middle circle, right? It's the overlap. And these guys were and again, with a podcaster, somebody that loves living out his life, talking about sports and Disney and all this kind of stuff. These are the folks I model what I do after. I want to be as cool as Stuart Scott, and I want to deliver the facts as well as Chris Mortensen. And I want to be as smooth as John Saunders. And someday I want to do a commercial as cool as John Clayton down in his basement. Mom, if you know the commercial, So I hope you had some good memories, and I hope you can give some feedback on, are you a ESPN fan? And do you even know what I'm talking about today? I'd love to hear your thoughts on where you were like in the 2000s with Disney and ESPN, and how you feel about these gentlemen. So just let me know. Patreon.com/BeOurGuestPodcast. We'll catch you again next week. As always, I appreciate you guys so much. You let me do what I love, and there's no words that can express how much I care about you guys and how much I thank you for allowing me to do what I do. All right, we'll catch you next week. Hope you have a great week. Hope it's better than you deserve, and but you guys deserve a great week, so it should be an awesome one. So stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.